How you guys doing? This is Anthony Ganji, host of Tier Talk, only show on the air dedicated to law enforcement. Don't forget, guys, follow us multiple venues: iHeartRadio, TuneIn, YouTube, Spreaker.com, Player FM, Stitcher Radio. The list goes on and on and on. And then don't forget, like the page on Facebook, Tier Talk page. We have about over 23,000 followers. We're growing, and we go live every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we have our great discussions about anything affecting the law enforcement community, which is great. Love it. And don't forget, we have an app now. You can download it on iOS and Android. I'm going to keep this quick. It's early morning. So I was reading an article that's coming out of North Carolina, saw it on Corrections 1, posted it on my page, and it's relating to solitary confinement and juveniles. And the word solitary confinement, the phrase, I understand it's kind of stuck in people's heads, and it's hard to get rid of that, but that's not what it is anymore. And I would like to get the word out there that that's not the case, but I'm here to actually argue something that's in the article that gets me upset. Okay, so we know that right now, solitary confinement, or the use of solitary confinement, restrictive housing, ADSEG, whatever you want to call it, it's under attack. We know that. And we know that our chances to employ this tool is starting to change. And a lot of people are afraid to discuss their concerns because it's no longer about safety and security. It's more about a political agenda. And people that have a valued opinion now are afraid to step up and say something because of the fact that the conversation has went political, as opposed to what's really needed in a prison environment, in a jail environment. So I just want to mention something, because the article is, in my mind, it's upsetting, and I'll tell you why. In order for us to justify the use of, they use the word solitary confinement. I disagree with that word, but it's the word that they relate to, or the phrase that they relate to, so I'm going to use that term, even though I disagree with it, because they're not by themselves. But having said that, okay, the inmates are removed from one area and placed into another, so the facility can run normal, so we can focus on the many and do what we got to do to rehabilitate them. Now, the people that we remove, the problematic ones, they're not forgotten about. They're placed in another area where they get more programming, more things that deal with their mental health, their medical education. It's focused more intensely, okay? So they're not put into an area and forgotten about. Now, if that is happening at a facility that may be under question, let's make specific note that this isn't the common practice. And yes, if they're being removed and there's nothing being given to them, books, phone calls, visits, we have to make note of that, yes. And of course, in order for us to justify the use of what they call solitary confinement, we have to provide every form of rehabilitation that we can, every effort to rehabilitate, even when the inmate is in some form of restrictive housing. It's the only way at this point that we're going to be able to justify the use of that tool. But when it makes it to the media, especially in this incident with North Carolina, they're quick to attack solitary confinement based on how one facility seems to be operating, how one facility seems to be employing that method. And then that becomes the standard definition of how it's being done on a national level. And I can speak firsthand and say it's a lie. When they're locked in an area away from the general population, so again, they use the word solitary confinement. It's not, it's more restrictive housing. It's a needed method. It's a method where they have to earn back the privileges, because that's how we maintain control. We've discussed this before. If they have nothing to lose, it's very harder for staff to maintain control of the inmate population. So there has to be something that you have to take, so they make an effort to do the right thing to earn that item back. Okay, and again, if you work in corrections, that's 101 for you. But if you don't, and you want to write an article about it, you're going to be way off, because it's not 101 for you, but it's 101 for us. So, ask us, and we'll tell you why it's a good tool. I will also add, and again, we mentioned this just a few seconds ago, that we provide them with all necessary tools for them to be rehabilitated while they're in these restrictive areas. And for us to look at this one facility and say that that's the practice on a national level, you're wrong. You're dead wrong. But now the scary thing is that's going to become the tool, or that's going to become the definition of how it's used on a national level. It's going to get stereotyped. And now what happened is the use of that great tool is now going to be put in question, all because of how one facility operates. And it limits us. So just to kind of make my closing thought, and again, a lot of people don't want to talk about solitary confinement, and again, that phrase needs to change. It's restrictive housing really is a better definition of what it is. We need to remind people that, hey, what you're reading, that's not how it's done. It's done this way, but we're afraid to now because the conversations have gone political. And those that have an opinion about it are afraid of any type of repercussion if they say how they really feel. So now our opinion is getting lost because, again, it's not about safety and security anymore. It's about political. It's about politics. So again, the reason why we have solitary confinement is to remove the threat and to make sure that we can operate the facility in a normal manner, that actually in an ordered and secured manner that benefits the many. But the one that's been removed because of that threat is not forgotten. They actually receive more help. So we do it just to maintain orderly running of the facility. And it's their actions that bring them to those areas where we have to remove them. And remember, if they're a threat to the environment, our job is to protect the other inmates. Who's going to want to live with an inmate that poses a serious threat? And if we decide not to remove that inmate and he attacks another inmate after he had just did something, so we have note that this inmate has negative behavior, we take note of that, and then we leave him where he's at. Well, if he attacks another inmate, you think the family may have a potential lawsuit? You think there's going to be a family that's going to say, hey, you knew this person was a threat, yet you housed him with my son? I'm guessing here, but I'm assuming that's what I would do as a concerned parent if my son was locked up and he got killed by his bunkie. I'm going to start questioning the history of the person that the bunkie was with. I'm sorry, the person that my son or my daughter was with. Now, also, there's a statement in that article that's really a foolish statement, and it states that, one of the gentlemen who read the article states, if my son got in trouble, and again, this is at home, he's trying to draw a scenario that relates the prison life to the home life. If my son got in trouble, I may send him away to his room for a few hours, but not for days or months on end. Yeah, but what did your son do? I mean, your son, played a video game past his bedtime, or your son didn't clean his room. Okay, fine. I actually think a few hours is a lot for that. But if your son beat the crap out of your wife, or stabbed up your sister, or stabbed up his sister a little bit, would you say, okay, hey, let's just remove him for a few hours? Would that make any sense? Your metaphor, your how you're trying to relate both worlds is irrelevant. It does not make any sense, and it's in the article. It's just a stupid statement that should be challenged. So I just wanted to get that out there. But that's what the guy actually said. If he was at home and you're punishing your child, you send your child into another room for a few hours, but not for days or months. And it's like, yeah, what did your child do? A little bit different for us, Plus, again, our priority is the reason why that inmate's being removed is also to protect others and to protect that inmate from themselves. And they're not forgotten when they're there, and that's what I'm trying to remind people. So, again, these are just my thoughts. Love you guys. Stay safe. Gotta go to work. All right, but guys, stay safe, and Don't forget, tune in every Tuesday, 6 p.m. live, and download the show. We have an app now. It's on Apple and Android. All right, guys. Love you guys. Stay safe.